Hey, what's up everybody? This is my quick guide to the Ultima weapon before the final boss. So basically what I did, I was in a position where I had 6 of the Orichalcum Plus, which is the main ingredient for the Ultima weapon, and you can get the 7th and final one right after you get to the last area of the game. Pretty closely once you're fighting through some of the enemies there. You can get it pretty early on in that last area. But that being said, there are going to be spoilers because you can't get that last one until the last area of the game. So I don't know why you're looking for a video like this if you don't want spoilers. But if you're that person, get the heck out of here. Okay, there is a little knowledge about the Moogle shops that you need to know. If you're going for this method to have the final Ultima weapon before the last boss, I would strongly recommend you basically save everything you can and not really mess with this until you know what you're doing. But let's take a look at some of these menus here. The first thing you do is actually unlock the recipe for the Ultima weapon itself. As you can see here at the bottom of my material list, I have 6 Orichalcum, and you'll also notice that each version of the stones above those that aren't, one of a kind or unique items, which are shown at the bottom with the gold stars, you'll see pretty much everything like Hungry. There's a shard, stone, gem, and a crystal. That theme is pretty much throughout every type of material. You'll basically collect the shard and stone and gem, and then sometimes you'll even get the crystal to drop. Those are the gold versions of each item, but sometimes you might have to make those. So let's go ahead and actually look here. The collector goals is where you can find the recipe, and you unlock certain things as you go. And as you can see here, obtain 58 different synthesis materials gives you the best weapons in the game, which is the Ultima weapon. And then Save the Queen Plus, Save the King Plus, I think are the best weapons for Donald and Goofy. But I highly recommend just holding off on those because I think you use some of the same crystals for those. So if we go into the material list, I just want to show you this one more time. This is kind of how you can tell what you're missing. If you have the shard, stone, gem, and crystal of most things, everything will line up kind of like this, from left to right, going down in each column. You'll see the common, uncommon, which is bronze, and then silver and gold kind of in this lineup. And you can see pretty much for like pulsing, I have pulsing shard, pulsing stone, pulsing gem, pulsing crystal. This is uniform all the way down the list. So if you ever hit a point like this, like my Twilight shard, Twilight stone, Twilight gem, and then blank, it goes back to the mithril shard. So I know I'm missing the Twilight crystal at that point. So if you start getting close to your goal and you don't know exactly what you're missing, this is a good way to kind of figure that out. Another thing I want to show you is the actual recipe for the Ultima weapon. This guide is mostly going to be about how to get the Orichalcum Pluses, which you need 7, and there's only 7 total in the game. But as you can see, we also need Wellspring Crystals, Lucid Crystals, and Pulsing Crystals. If you play through the whole game and kill a lot of enemies, you're pretty much going to have these already. I think I needed to actually synthesize a Pulsing Crystal. So if you go into the Moogle shop and you find that you need a certain item, you can go ahead and craft it. Make sure you actually need it for the Ultima weapon, and then you can just focus on the Orichalcum Plus. Okay, now that we know all of that, we're moving on to the Orichalcum Pluses. There are 7 total in the game. You get the last one in a chest at the last world of the game. So don't worry about that one. Your goal is just to get 6. So in the order of which you can get them, that is going to be kind of how I'm explaining them. So the first one could be the most annoying. It's the most simple, and that is from postcards at the Moogle shop. So basically, at the Moogle shop, the easiest place to do this is Twilight Town. Every time you buy an item from the shop, you have a chance at getting a postcard. You can then take that postcard and turn it into the post right next to the Moogle shop. So as you can see, I'm just turning in one item at a time. You literally only have to buy one item to have this chance. So unless you actually need a certain item, I would just buy the cheapest item you can get, like buy one potion, back out of the store, buy another potion, back out of the store, buy a third potion, back out of the store. Every time you do that, you have a chance of getting a postcard. Every time you get one, you can turn it in, or what I did, I waited till I had like 4 or 5 and then turned it in. And if you're finding yourself unlucky and getting on a bad streak and spending a lot of money, you can actually just save the game, before you do this and reload that save, and then you get all your money back because it's different every time. So if you find yourself buying 100 potions and just somehow not getting that Orichalcum Plus, you can just reload your save and do it again. So it's just a rinse and repeat process, and it's just totally random. So that's why this one's kind of annoying, but it's fairly easy to do. So since this video is running kind of long, this next part is going to be in another guide, so be sure to check the description. This one you have to collect all 10 treasures on the sliding minigame. So if you talk to Elsa after you beat the Frozen World, Arendelle, you will have this minigame option available, which is basically like a downhill ski track that you're sliding down on Goofy's shield. There are different orbs you can collect along the way, and throughout the course, there are 10 orbs that are considered treasures. Each of these are in a different location, and it is impossible to get them all in one run. I was finding myself maybe getting like 2 or 3 per run if you're following the guide and kind of looking ahead. But yeah, be sure to check the description for that guide. That was the easiest one I found. He starts the course at the beginning for everyone, which doesn't really take much time. However, you do have to complete the course to get it to count. So you cannot just get it and then hit retry. You have to finish the course every time. So check out that guide. Once you get all 10 of them, every one you get, it actually gives you a prize. But once you get all 10, it'll give you the Orichalcum Plus at the end of the game. So this one is not that hard. Some of them are a little tricky, but it's just kind of time consuming just because you can't get them all in one run. But yeah, once you get the last one at the end of the race, you'll get a reward for it, and then also the Orichalcum Plus. The next one, Orichalcum number 3, is very easy. You just have to go to this island on the Pirates of the Caribbean world, and this little island just has a chest with simply a Orichalcum Plus in it. So this is one of the most straightforward ones. This is how number 7 is. You just have to go to this island. The chest is right in the middle of the island, and that will give you the Orichalcum Plus. The next one is probably the most time consuming. This is 80 lucky emblems. That's right. You have to take a picture of 80 of these things, and it's okay if you already got some, because in the photo album it kind of tells you which ones you have. But once you get 80 of these emblems, and they're all across all the worlds, so I recommend doing this at the end, you will get the Orichalcum. I'll have a video to this in the description. Moving on, we go from the most time consuming to the most frustrating. Basically, after you beat a world, there's something that appears in a certain area called a flan, and these are the Flantastic 7. This one is the cherry flan. You can see by the different fruit on their crown, and basically these are just mini games that you can complete in the world, and you're looking for a certain time for these. Usually it's about 20,000. So once again, since this is so time consuming, I'm just going to link the video in the description that I followed and just kind of give you some tips. This first one in Olympus is located at the very top. The only tips for this one is avoid the walls. I mean, you basically do have a time limit, but if you hit the walls too much, it will cancel. And the faster you're moving, the more flans you can get, essentially. You're just cruising through the world. As you can see here, if you hit too many walls, it'll just kick you out. So stay away from walls and collect as many as you can. The guide I'm going to link also tells you how much score you're looking for each of these mini games. And that one brings us to the toy box. This one's actually kind of fun. You're in a cup and you're trying to collect as many flans once again. That's kind of a theme throughout most of these mini games. And if you get hit by any of the flans on the balls, they will knock yours off and lower your score. So the only tip I have here is always be using the A to cup slide. And these guys will pretty much hunt you out. So if you just kind of pay attention, you will be able to avoid these. There's also some flans floating on balloons that you can collect when your stat gets high enough. So be on the lookout for those. You're basically just trying to avoid the ones on the balls. Now, the flan in the Kingdom of Corona is very annoying because this is based off pictures. You have to get excellent pictures of all the flans around the area to get your score higher. Each flan is doing something different, and you have to hit it just right. The butterfly and the flying one, you have to hit them at the peak, but you do have to photograph the butterfly in the picture as well. The bunny one right here is pretty easy. The other two kind of walking around, you just have to wait for them to strike a pose. One thing I did find doing this order, once you did all the flans over here for a total of 4, you basically have the one walking both of these flying ones and then the rabbits. There's also a fifth back in this area that's walking around. And then there are two on the other side of the map. So let me show you guys those two. So once you get the 5 towards the first area, you want to come this way. There's actually 2 in the trees, and the perfect time to photograph these 2 is when they drop down and turn into a pie. After this, follow the path to the right, and there's also a group of 5 flans. Now these flans are a little tricky. They go back and huddle and then talk about a pose and then come out and pose. But this one should be the last one you need. They have to huddle about 2 or 3 times, and then they'll come out for the perfect picture, and you're basically looking for them all to line up perfectly. The flan in Monsters Inc. is actually pretty straightforward. You have to kill as many flan as possible, but avoid the big flan. This guy's going to be jumping around, and if he lands on top of you or swallows you up, that's when it ends. So you're just trying to plan out when to attack these flan. When he jumps, it's a good opportunity to attack. Also, a use of thunder here is pretty good. As far as the flan in Arendelle, it's up by the Princess Castle. You pretty much have to jump from a ledge to get to it. It's way down here. That's really the hardest thing about it, because as long as you're high enough level and have a decent keyblade, you should be able to pass this one just with a little luck. The goal here is just to kill as many Heartless as possible. You have to kill a certain amount for points. Pretty self-explanatory here. The watermelon flan in Pirates of the Caribbean is kind of an easy one too. It is at the fort. Basically, you can move around and swing your keyblade at these 4 cannons, and you'll shoot a cannon down certain lines that enemies are flying. So you're basically just paying attention to the lines of enemies. If you're starting to get overwhelmed, you can swing at the bell every certain amount of time, and it'll shoot a big volley that will pretty much kill everything. This one's pretty easy and actually pretty fun. The last lovely annoying flan is on top of this building in San Francisco. You can see in relation to the blue building kind of where it's at. For this one, you're actually jumping on flan heads going building to building. This one's kind of easy too, as long as you can kind of control where you're landing pretty well. Don't try to over jump, like don't try to stretch 2 flan worths. Just try to pick one enemy and go with that. You cannot land on them if they're facing up. So I just kind of pick a pattern, and as you can see here, just kind of go in a circular pattern. Once you see a little glittering thing above their head, when you land on that flan, you'll go to the next area. Like I said, this one's pretty straightforward and easy to get points in, so let's move on to the next one. The last orichalcum before the final world takes place in the gummy ship. This is actually a hidden boss in your gummy ship. In the last galaxy, this pretty much is taken up by an entirely too large triangular spaceship, and at the 4 corners of this triangular spaceship you will encounter 4 boss battles. 2 of them are actually kind of unique enemies. One of them kind of a robot looking dude, another one kind of a triangular shape himself. The other 2 rather are just time trials telling you kill as many Heartless as you can. Once you kill all 4, the middle will open. It'll kind of highlight here, and the big bad boy Omega will spawn. When you go up to the top, you will encounter this enemy, and once you defeat him, you will get the 6th and final orichalcum that you have until the final world. A lot of places recommend being level 40 or even 50 for this, and you're basically just looking for a lot of firepower. You want to edit your gummy ship so you have a little bit of movement, but overall tons of firepower, because the different phases of this battle has a few cannons that you can actually destroy to make it easier for yourself. As you're spinning around, kind of focus on those cannons and it'll be a better time. So as you can see here, kind of starting the battle, you can even get a jump start and kill a few of the cannons. But there are 4 on the top, 4 on the bottom, a bunch of little things shooting at you, a couple special attack moves where he shoots rockets and lasers at you, and you're basically just killing the 4 cannons. The one on top, doing that for the bottom as well as a end section. But this guy's pretty much just dodging all the stuff he's throwing at you while producing the most damage you possibly can to destroy his cannons. So it's a kind of a fun boss battle, kind of lengthy compared to the other ones. Once you complete it, you will get these 6 orichalcum plus. So there you have it. That leaves us with 6 orichalcum pluses going into the last world. And to get the last one, you have to be in the Badlands and take this red portal back to where you were collecting Sora's fragments. This will take you back there, and when you get here, there is just one chest right in front of you, and this, my friends, is the last orichalcum that you need to create the Ultima weapon. At this point, you can hit the save point before the characters going back into the Badlands and create the weapon before the final boss. I just wanted to do this because I was tired of seeing crappy looking keyblades that I like to use, but I didn't like the cosmetics of. And I wanted to just have the Ultima weapon just to totally unleash on these bosses. I do recommend, paying attention to the difficulty of the game. If you feel like the game is too easy, it's definitely not going to make it harder getting the Ultima weapon. You might feel like it's too easy for you for sure after you get this. But I just wanted to have it mostly for the cutscenes. And yeah, that's just kind of my tips on how to get the Ultima weapon before the final boss battles. So if you guys like this video, be sure to like and comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.